welcome, Em.
Hi.
Em Carter from Dominium Vita.
Yeah.
Have I said that right?
Dominium.
Dominium. And I Googled what you guys do, and I Googled the meaning of the name, which you've just told me is complete load of bullshit.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
But for those guests who don't know you, would you mind sharing what Dominium Vita is?
Yeah, so we are a private members club. We're an erotic members club. So we cater to adult entertainment, adult events, play events specifically. So most people would call them sex parties. We call them play parties. But specifically, we are interested in those that are finding their footing in the erotic world and are looking to explore culture, lifestyle, education, and play. So that's kind of the all-encompassing version of it. Yeah.
Amazing. So I'm going to dig a little bit into like what those different areas are, but how did you start in this world?
I mean, for me personally, I've been in the industry, in the scene for like well over 10 years now. Like straight out of university, I got into the sex industry. I was a dominatrix for many, many, many years, and a slew of other things in the industry. And I think it was like 2017, 2018, I went to my first sex positive event. It was actually a full-blown fetish event in a church, a very well-known fetish event, TG.
Brixton Church.
Pardon?
Brixton
Yeah,
Church.
Brixton Church. It was my first ever one I went to, and I remember walking in and being like, the freaks. Like, here they are, they exist. I've been looking for you guys. And ever since then, I just kind of like dabbled in and out of like the world. And then in 2019, I left it for a while to get to be in a relationship. And then 2020, this like crazy world thing happened that like no one talks about anymore, of like COVID. And everything got shut down and closed off. So that year, 2020, I met my co-founder, Richard, and we became really good friends and started talking about like this world that we had both kind of dabbled in before and had experiences with. And we kind of were like, oh, sod this, life's too short. Let's just jump back in the deep end. And we went to loads of play parties. And lo and behold, we kind of like kept doing that thing that you do after the end of a play party where you debrief in the car. And we called it the Goldilocks effect, where it was, that one's too this, that one's too this, that one was too small, I didn't like that music, the decor in there wasn't awful, the lighting was awful. And there was always something that we weren't quite happy with. So eventually one day we just were like, sod this, let's just get some of our really sexy, sex positive friends together and we'll do our own thing. And we got, I think it was like 200 quid's worth of condoms and Prosecco and like a really beautiful flat that was lent to us on the river, and we just threw a party.
And so this was coming out of COVID?
The official answer is yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, the official answer was yes. We were very much done with COVID at the time. By the time we launched like officially and we decided that it was going to be a thing, we were out of COVID, but this was still somewhat in the like, I think it was the second lockdown.
Yeah.
I can't remember how many we had, but it was like one of the last lockdowns. And we kind of launched it didn't launch it. We like just had our friends around. I remember we asked everyone for their COVID tests and all that fun stuff. And it was a really big success. Everybody loved it. Like everybody just thought it was exactly what they'd all been looking for, which is what we'd been looking for, which was something chill, something like not masses of people. Like I said, it was 30 people originally. No emphasis on like DJs, heavy music, like, non-verbal communication skills. It was just sexy music, sexy lighting, amazing people in an amazing space, and seeing where the evening could take you and seeing where connections took you. And lo and behold, we did it once, great success. Second time, great success. We kept having people ask us to like fill them in on when the next one was. So we decided to launch an Instagram, and we thought, oh, we should probably name it. Like we should probably give our night a name if it's going to have an Instagram and a following. And that's literally how Dominium Vita was born.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so how do you choose the name?
We were sat on Richard's couch one day thinking about, okay, what do we name this thing? And we just couldn't think of anything. that like sounded snappy and cool and like kind of embodied what we had in our minds. And I did journalism at university, and there's like a really lazy trick in journalism that when you want to name a piece or like a magazine or a product or something, the lazy trick is you name it whatever you actually wanted to call it in English, just in another language. So I was like, sod it, let's just name it something in another language, because we can't be bothered. And some of the inspiration we'd had for the events was like Bacchanalia and like the Bacchanalia parties and ancient Romans. And I was like, okay, well, let's name it something in Latin, because that kind of has that Roman tie to it. And Richard literally printed out like 20 words in Latin that like had something to do with a conversation. Like we'd like spoken about it, of like what our brand was and like what the events were. And he just like took 20 of those words, Google translated them into Latin and sent them to me. And I went, okay, Latin have really weird words. So like none of them sounded sexy, except I did see like Dominium. I like that word. I've seen that word before. Vita, I know that word. That word means life. And we were like, oh, to own your life, like ownership of life. And we just like crammed them together and made Dominium Vita, which we thought nothing of at the time, except now at least like 2-3 times a year, we get people come up to us and they go, did you know that your name makes absolutely no grammatical sense in Latin? And we go, why do you know that?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's literally how the name was born. It was the lazy trick of sod it, we can't think of anything, turn it into another language. And thus Dominium Vita was born. It makes no sense. It like people think it, because we say obviously it means like ownership of life. It doesn't. It means ownership and life crammed together into a word. And
I mean, it sounds powerful.
it sounds powerful,
and the
I'll take
branding is
it.
powerful,
Yeah.
and your imagery is powerful, and socials, and
I'll
what
take
you've
it. It's
done.
been a very happy accident, but
Yeah.
it very much was an accident.
So talk me through. You said that your parties are for those that are maybe exploring or coming into the scene. Like that says to me maybe it's not the most well-versed sex party goer, let's say.
It's a mixture. The reason we kind of say it's for those exploring is because I think exploring comes at all stages. So like whether you're exploring and you've been in the scene for 10 years or however long, or you're brand new and you've never experienced it before, we still say exploring. But we do find that we get a fair few that this is one of their first experiences, and that fills me with joy, because it's something that we kind of take really seriously, because we thankfully have quite a good name for ourselves about like safety and the way we handle situations and how we want to like hold people's hand as they come in, because I personally believe that like once you're in, that first experience is going to shape your journey with it. So for us, it's really important that we're a nice soft hand to hold, and we're nothing too crazy. We're not, thousands of people. We're not wildly overwhelming, which is great for some, but it was all about stripping all of that back and being about connection. So when it's your first experience with us, we just want you to come in and connect with human beings and talk, and not rely on like an app or chatting online or anything like that, or a million anagrams of different words that mean different things in the scene. Like just come, flirt, like touch someone's arm, see if that sparks anything, and go from there. Yeah, it was really important to us.
And so have you had many things go wrong?
It depends what you mean by wrong. I mean, we've had a few. I mean, in this industry, it's like really hard to find really good venues. And so sometimes you find what you think is going to be an amazing venue, and it like just all comes tumbling down in the night. I won't go into too much detail, but anyone who has been to DV for a certain amount of time is well aware of when I mentioned the sauna night, which was not held in a sauna, but by the end of the night, it could have been a sauna. My co-founder Richard was walking around with trays of ice cubes, like aperitifs. But that was particularly hellish. I mean, I'm sure we have had plenty of things go wrong. Like,
what about for the individuals? Because obviously, I can imagine that safety and consent in the world that we're in right now, and I guess around lockdown and when you were birthing, you had the Me Too movement, and a lot of a lot of the public was focused on these issues, right? And then at the same time, you're birthing a sex positive event.
I think we were really I would say we were really lucky, but actually it wasn't luck. I worked really fucking hard to do this. When we kind of started out, the conversation of safety wasn't as big as it is now in terms of in this industry. Everyone knew they needed monitors and training, but no one really knew what that meant. So there still isn't an official certified board where you can go and get kink and play party training. You just kind of have to correlate loads of information together. There's a few individuals who do it. For instance, we were trained by the Divine Theratrix. I know that one of the owners of Quench, Logan, offers training, and I think they're now accredited with kink training, which is fantastic. But for us, when we started, we didn't think it was going to be a massive thing. So I was in charge of that. And thankfully, I'd been, like I said, a dominatrix for many, many years. And I knew my training from being a dominatrix. I knew the rough idea of how to conduct scenes in an ethical manner. I knew about, the wheel of consent. I knew about power dynamics and just basic hand-to-hand skills that could be dangerous in certain situations. So I took over the overseeing of the events for like the first 2-3 events, I'd say. And then we brought in a small team who were, a collection of friends from the space. And I taught them what I knew. And then thankfully, I think it was in our first year, the Divine Theratrix spoke to us and said she could train us, and handled my heads of staff training, who now train out all the rest of my team. So I think your original question was having any problems. Sorry, I diverted there. So in terms of training, we were really lucky that we entered in a really good space, and we knew what we were talking about. At least I knew kind of what I was talking about, and we were able to apply that. Of course, we've had, unfortunately, some instances of bad behavior. I won't go into any detail to protect those that, may have experienced something. But, touch wood, we haven't had anything crazy, and I hope it stays like that. We thankfully have a really, really good community who don't just, behave themselves, but if they see something, they report it, which is like, I think anyone who runs the events that we run will say that that's the most important thing, is when someone, because we can't have eyes and ears everywhere. If someone sees something and they report it to us and we're able to keep an eye on that person for the rest of the night, it can be like the thing that makes or breaks it. So we've been really lucky in that sense, but yeah, we've definitely had some things to deal with, and thankfully we've been trained to deal with them, and it doesn't fluster my team at this point. Thank God.
I guess it's kind of expected somewhat. These things are going to come up in the nature of what happens.
Yeah. People don't tend to love it when I say this, but I firmly believe that there is no such thing as a safe space, especially in this industry. Like, you can't control how people are going to act once they're in a space as much as you push education and you push, your rules and your regulations and your ethics and your consent guidelines. People are going to make choices on how they behave, or even subconsciously make choices that maybe they don't know how to behave and they're just being ignorant. But thankfully, it's how you deal with it from that point on that makes it the safe space, not, a magic wand that we can wave as people enter and say, and now everybody behaves perfectly. And, it's just a real risk that you take when you come to these kind of events. But
and in any public space, how do we know how anyone's going to behave in any public space?
And it's a weird thing when people kind of ask me that question, because I don't go out anymore in regular quote unquote. I mean, I might go to like a bar, but I won't go clubbing because I don't feel safe. I'm like, if someone touches me, what do I do? Who do I go to? There's like 4 security guards and maybe this entire club. I'm used to having like trained monitors in some sort of high vis item that I can just beeline towards and will know how to handle a sexual assault allegation. And I just don't feel as safe in other spaces as I do. Like, for me, it's like unsafe on the tube at times.
I mean, do you think the world in general has become a bit fixated on this sense of safety? And do you think it's impacting the way that men and women actually interact and flirt and relate?
Oh, it definitely is impacting it. But can I say it's a good or a bad thing? That's up to the individual. Has the world become too obsessed? Yes and no. I think it's justified. I think a lot of it was not just women, but people who have been harassed, finally going, enough, like this is enough, I'm sick of it. And, especially after Sarah Everard and Me Too, like we all kind of collectively joined hands and just said, enough, like we shouldn't be living like this. But do I think it's affected how people interact? Yeah, we see it on the regular of men are now very scared to approach women. I'm not saying it's a good thing that they're scared. I think that now it's their turn to adjust ever so slightly of, the playing field's a little bit more level now, and now everybody should be respectful of how they approach people. Women need to learn how to, because society's made us such people pleasers. It's great when women learn how to stand by our boundaries and represent ourselves, which is something that we also talk about a lot at DV, is really encouraging, especially women, not always women, but especially women, to assert for themselves and be their own safety net and assert their own boundaries, because that's something that we find it really hard to do as women. And we teach men, a yes is a yes, but it needs to be a continuous yes. And so maybe check in at different points so that she can give you an answer. If things are changing, if the scene is changing up and it's getting a bit more intense, check in and just say, we still good. So it's just about like leveling things out and not expecting, by the way, I'm not demonizing one whole entire gender there. That was such a sweeping generalization of genders. But it's just about like equaling the playing field and saying, hey, you give a little, I'll give a little. I'll protect my boundaries and let you know when things aren't okay, and I'll check in to make sure that things are okay, and just keeping that nice conversation going. It really makes a nice, safe environment as best you can.
And I guess in these parties, and there are, competitors or other people in the space that are the same as yours, like in the same space. A lot of the focus has been on more maybe female empowerment, or there's been a big discussion around that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like Dominium Vita like shares a thing. It sounds like you are.
I'm really against, like, if you talk to me in my day-to-day life, I'm probably the most pro-woman person you will ever come across. I'm like, he did what? Well, he was wrong. Whereas when it comes to DV, I feel ethically, by the way, this is no shades to anyone that does this, just my own personal standpoint on it. I don't feel right in saying we are, for female empowerment, we are female this, because it just doesn't feel right. Because I can say that till the cows come home, but it might not mean anything. My thing is, I like to put my money where my mouth is, and I like women to come in and feel that. And I'm not going to tell you that you're empowered. I'm not going to tell you that this is a pro-woman, like woman safety space. I'm just not going to do that. It's for you as an individual woman, non-binary, man, whatever, to come in and feel that feeling and hold that feeling and experience that for yourself. I'm just here to set the setting for you. So that's why I don't really love putting that label on it, because it feels a bit disingenuous. But also, like, this is an industry where women have been treated like cattle for a really long time. And, it's very common in this industry to find women get very, very cheap tickets to certain events. And again, this is no shade to anyone that does this. And men get really, really expensive or much more expensive tickets than the women. And that can be framed as, it's because it's for the women, or it's because it's, to get the women in the building. But as someone that's been to events that does that, for me, it felt like I was a product being ushered in like cattle. And the men who had paid much more money than I had to be there felt somewhat entitled to something because they had paid more. And that to me didn't feel right. So we have a really hard boundary of there will be no gendered pricing. Everyone pays exactly the same. Everyone wants to be there the exact same. If, you have someone pay for your ticket, that's a conversation between you. But we're not going to usher women in the hope. I mean, don't get me wrong, every now and again we might have to close sales and then only sell to one gender or another, or one type of person or another, because, sale, we don't create male and female tickets at all. So sometimes we do have to be like, there is a lot of women on this. We're going to have a lot of angry women if this is all women at the event. So sometimes then we will intervene and close things off and adjust. But other than that, we really don't. We just want everyone there to be equal. And express themselves and feel this magical, beautiful, glittery, euphoric feeling that you can have when you open yourself up to new experiences. And that's the important part to us. It's not about, it's not really about anything else. It's how you feel during that experience is no one's experience but your own. And I'm not going to label that for you. So.
And what's the wildest experience you've seen someone have, or that someone's told you they've had?
At my event or in general?
Let's do your events and then we'll do general.
At my events, again, I don't know if I can say too much. In my events, it tends to be group things. So we have I don't wonder the event too much because there's something that happens when like one of the owners walks into the room where like everyone kind of stops and stares. And then I'm like, I've just ruined a moment. I'm going to leave. But I did that in one of our smaller events. We do a smaller event called the Cocktail Hour, which is like maximum 40 people. It's like literally house party vibes, good drinks, good people, great views, like great space. And it's just kind of no frills, see where the evening takes you. And we had one of the main bedrooms in our Cocktail Hour venue. We walked in, there was 18 people, all kind of like on top of each other, creating a kind of human pyramid experience, all entwined. And I walked in to enjoy, and everyone did that like, the boss is here situation. And I was like, oh, I ruined it. Okay, I'll leave. Outside of my events, I don't really know. I don't know what is weird anymore. Because to me, what I just explained is really, pretty cool. Really vanilla. That's really vanilla. That's just like, yeah, sure, standard Tuesday. I don't know what is considered weird. I've seen like big group bukkake sessions at events. I used to go to an event and there was a guy, it was a foot slave of mine, that as I walked into the event would clean my boots. I used to wear like thigh high, big stripper pleasers to every event I used to go to. And he would lick my boots clean from being outside. And then as I would leave, he would lick them from the night that I just had before I went into my taxi. So
bootlickers.
Yeah, I love a shoe guy. They're really like,
that does it for you.
God's gift to the world. Like there's nothing better than when you've been out all night. I used to go out in TG and like the end of the night, my feet are killing me. Like, oh, and like one would just crawl over. There was one in particular I can think of, I won't name him. He would crawl over and be like, mistress, would you like a rub? And I'm like, yes, I want a rub. And like he'd take the boots off and give me a like foot rub for a good 20 minutes. And I was just like, oh, you're just divine. What every woman needs.
And so let's talk. What is the job description of a dominatrix?
I mean, how long have you got? I mean, like the clinical term of it is a woman who holds, or can be a man, but a dominatrix tends to be a woman who holds power over men in some sort of sexual gratifying way. Now, that is such a overly generalized version of it. There are so many different ways that can go. In some ways, it's completely not sexual. Some men, it is a deep mental, like obliteration of their own humanity. Like they really want you to, can I swear?
Yeah.
There's deep mind fucking that they want. Like it's not about like, the orgasm or the climax. It's like they want you to crawl inside their brain and take over it, which is one of my personal favorite types of domination.
And how do you do that?
There's 1,000 ways. So my thing I used to do was I would make them face the wall and envelop you have to get them to the point where they're able to face the wall happily first. A lot of men don't want to be dragged down to their knees. I prefer to kind of like cool them down to their knees and then it's like a mental thing of instead of forcefully bringing them down, you sweetly bring them down and develop a sense of like softness with a sub and connection with a sub, and then make them face the wall and do something that will incite wild excitement from them. So for instance, I used to on occasion, I'm so sorry, it's going to get graphic, like pretend like I'd be playing with myself or pretend to play with myself or whatever that might look like, and have that sub in the corner completely at his knees for hours, or I would leave the room and just make him wait there for hours. Like anything that snaps them into this like I don't know what to do with myself, uncontrollable urge. That's my favorite type of domination, where they're almost weeping but you're not even touching them. It's not it's not pain, or like pretending to drop something as if you're going to drop something and having them flinch as if they want to grab it for you. And just that instantly takes them into a headspace of submission. So there's loads of things. There's loads of little.
And how did you learn this all?
Through a lot of hard trials and tribulations. I remember thinking, like, when I first started, I think I was 19 or 20 when I first started. Maybe I was 20 when I started. I started on webcam at university. That's how I kind of got into the industry. And then that morphed into doing real-time domination. I think I was about 20 when that started. Sorry, what was the question? I went off.
How did you get into it?
How I learned about it. Sorry.
How I learned about it.
So yeah, when I started, when I was like 20, there wasn't really like any forums or like any way to like really learn. Like, you just had to kind of figure it out as you went. And people really weren't willing to, at least in my experience, they weren't willing to part with their information. Because everyone had kind of had to figure it out as they went along. And so most people you came across were not super happy to be like, yeah, sure, here's all this very expensive information that has taken me years and loads of money to learn. So you just had to kind of go. And I remember that when I kind of figured a lot of stuff out, I made like a vow of like, I will never withhold any of this information, because I have done damage to myself and others by not knowing a lot of this information. So I've like handed out like as much information as I can to like young baby doms, being like, here, do this, stay away from fin-doming, it's bad. Like,
fin-doming?
Yeah, fin-doming. It's like the thing that will catch most people into domination, like the thing that people see on social media. Have you ever heard of like pay pigs?
Mm-hmm.
So people kind of I kind of consider it as like the pyramid scheme of domination. Like, it's not really going to lead you anywhere, but people really lure you in with this like, I make thousands of pounds, or I'm sure some people do, but the reality is it takes if you're not willing to take it seriously, you can fuck up people's lives so quickly. You can fuck up your life really quickly. It's something that people are trained to do. Like, the people that do actual real fin-doming, like the hardcore fin-doms, they take this so seriously. And it's not about like this fuck you, pay me attitude. They really care about their submissives. They sit and figure out with their submissives exactly how much money is available, how much money they need to live off. Like, they care. They have like safety words on when enough is enough, or if they need to retract something, they can do. It's so much more caring. And what worries me is like the social media, like fuck you, pay me attitude can be really detrimental to both yourself and the client. So something I always tell anyone that like I will listen, I'm like, please stay away from fin-doming unless you're willing to take it like so seriously. If for no other reason, like, it can fuck up things for yourself. Like, people can do chargeback. They can out you to your banks. If you're going it through your bank, they can out you to PayPal or any kind of like cash app, and then you get banned from those. That's how I'm banned from PayPal. Like, it can be really detrimental. So like, just leave the fin-doming alone. It's just not worth it. But I was really lucky in some of my early years to meet some dominatrix and escorts and people in the business that just knew certain tricks that I didn't know. So I'm fairly skilled at impact play, because I met someone who was obsessed with impact play, and she taught me how to use a bullwhip correctly, how to Florentine flog and like dual floggers, how to leave bruises and how to not leave bruises. So that's something that's actually continuously comes in handy running DV, is when someone's like, how do I use this thing? And I'm like, I will teach you and help you. So that's just a piece of information that I collected over the years. Yeah, it was just trial and error.
And so how many years were you a dominatrix for?
It was on and off for about, it's just a dominatrix. It was on and off for 8 years. In that time, I had like regular 9-to-5 jobs and like went through this push and pull of like, I want to be a normal girl. I don't want to be a normal girl. Like, I want to have a 9-to-5 and have a normal life and, you know, wake up and know exactly what my
fence.
Yeah, like, and know what my schedule is going to look like. And then I would go to and do a 9-to-5 job and be like, I hate this.
Yeah.
Like, this is horrendous. horrendous. Why do I feel like ending everything? So I would just keep going backwards and forwards to like on and off sex work, but kind of the whole time always keeping an element of it there as like a safety net. And then when COVID hit and I got made redundant from my last 9-to-5 job, I just went, oh, sod it. I'm just going to do it like 100% full time. Like I've worked on what was then my brand for 10 years. I'm going to try and do it full time. And I did it full time. And in my first less than a month, I made my full redundancy paycheck. So I was like, oh, this is for me. I'm okay with this. Did that for, God, it was 2020. We started 2021. So just over nearly 2 years I did it. And by the time DV came around, I'd stashed enough up in savings that I then took all my savings and co-founded DV with Richard. So it was like this, like it was all meant to be scenario of like, oh, this all kind of worked out.
And so what kind of, if you could archetype a specific client, I know it's going to be like broad, and I know I can imagine it was.
Do you mean like for DV?
Yeah, for
me.
When you were a dom, like was there a particular type of client that you had?
Oh yeah, like any man in a high-paying, high-stressful job, like any man in anything that was high stress, high paying, where he was important, and any dominatrix will tell you this, like that's our bread and butter.
So that there is an archetype to this
100%. Right? It's not all of the clients, but you see that. I'd say the ones that are in the most stressful jobs are the ones that want to submit the most.
So why do they come to a dom and not have this within a relationship or in their marriage or where it might be?
That's something that like in some ways really breaks my heart. I think it's just the shame of it. To this day, I still don't dabble in dominatrix anymore, but like I still have my old brand and I still speak with certain clients that I used to. I'm so sorry, there's a cat hair on my nose that's just driving me insane.
Itch it off.
Yeah, like that's a trick. Get the hair to so I still like speak with certain clients. What was the question again? I got distracted by the cat.
Why don't they go to their wives and their girlfriends?
Oh yeah, no. So it's just like the tale as old as time. Is like society has made them feel shame. It's not masculine to pretend to be a baby and have your nappy changed by a woman entirely clad in latex. It's not. They don't think it's appealing to the white picket fence fantasy that your sexual deviancy can just be put on the table like that. It's something that they feel has to remain hidden. I'd say 90% of my clients were married. And I know about it. I did have a few clients who were married and their wives knew. And the wives were like, I'm not into it, but I'd rather you went and found a professional where it's clean cut, no strings attached. She knows what she's doing. You know what you're doing. And you come home in the day and I'll cook your dinner. But yeah, I think most of it it's shame.
And not all of it was this like secretive.
No, God no. I had a client, and I won't go into too much detail again. I'm really against going into detail about clients for their own protection. But I did have a client who would come over from another country, where he was not able to satisfy certain needs, and his wife knew about it. They had it marked in the calendar of when he was coming to see me. Like his wife would relay messages, and he'd relay messages through me, and it was really lovely to experience that in that kind of dynamic with them and see that he loved his wife more than anything in this whole world, but she just wasn't into some of the depraved stuff he was into, and he just came over here as a clean cut, no mess situation, and him and I developed a really good dynamic that way. We'd go out for dinner as friends and discuss how his experiences, with other people were. And it was just really beautiful and well-rounded. And like, that's something that I've always kind of looked up to with people, is when they can just kind of wear their deviancy on their shirt and say, hey, I'm a bit of a freak. Like it is what it is.
And so psychologically, what do you think is, if you were to psychoanalyze your subset of old clients, what's going on in their head? Why do they have these drivers? And what is it that you fulfill for them?
I mean, in a lot of ways, I have it too. Like if anyone was to ask my partner, I'm the biggest freaking baby in my house. Like, oh, baby, please, I can't I can't reach the clock. Please, I'm such a child. And he's very catering and very good to put up with me. But it's because I have a quite stressful job where I have to make decisions 24/7. And the last thing I want to do when I get home is make another freaking decision. Don't ask me where to go for dinner. I don't care. I mean, I have to occasionally give an opinion because, it's not fair. But it's that exact same thing, except when you've been like that for 20 years and the decisions are big decisions and you're so stressed, you want to just release all of that and be subservient and not make a single decision and be told what to do and have everything planned and mapped out for you, even if it's just for an hour. And then you leave and you get to go home and carry on about your day. And I feel like most people who have had any moment in their lives that's like really sod this, or I feel like I'm going to go pull out my hair with the stress, whether it's like a house renovation or being a mom or like a high paid job, those moments where you're like, someone else take this entirely away from me for 20 minutes. It's just the exact same situation, except this one has a sexual undertone.
And so was there a common fetish that people had or came to you with?
My common ones were, because I'm quite tall, I had a lot of giantess situations where like you pretend somebody is just a teeny tiny little like ant or like little tiny human, and like you squash them or like you pick them up, or like they're a baby and I'm the mom. Had a lot of that. Had a lot of foot stuff because there's just as I said, I gravitate towards.
You secretly love it.
I love
Not
it.
even secretly.
Any excuse to go and get my toenails.
See,
yeah, I want to go get my toenails painted and then have you suck them. Like, it's just heaven to me, and not in a sexual way, just in a purely relaxing way. Funny story. I actually learned how to stand on a human body, on all areas of the body, from a guy who had a handrail built into his bedroom, like, like a disability handrail that you like to help to plug the bath and stuff. He had that screwed across the wall from his bed so that women could come in and learn to stand on him. And he would like have them come in by the hour and essentially teach. And that's literally how I learned where to stand on the human body without causing any lasting damage.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like from real diehards like that we like learn this information. It's great.
But did you ever hurt anybody?
I'm sure I have done. Like there were moments in my early career, I guess you want to call it, when I wasn't trained in ethics and consent and power dynamics, and I thought it was just beating the shit or like taking what I wanted and not giving a crap. And I'm sure that like I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I am so sure that back then I must have done some sort of damage in some way because I didn't know what I was doing. And I hope that wasn't anything too horrendous and awful. And I hope I've rectified it in later years in the way I now work. But yeah, I think that any baby dom is going to cause some that, unless you come into this like like it's coursework and you study and you learn and you take it so seriously, which unfortunately most people don't because it's very hard to do that. But yeah, I think that everyone's going to do a bit of damage. Unfortunately, it's really a risk of the game. Yeah.
And with the other DOMs that you've now connected with and like the communities that you've been part of, would you say there's like common traits within you and people who get drawn into this work, and particularly like the DOM work, not just escorting?
Particularly DOM. I mean, there's that sense of power. Like, I think if you put 20 DOMs in a room, not doming, you'll probably find some sort of. They usually hold themselves quite well because they're very confident. Like they 9 times out of 10 are fairly confident. They know how to own a room. That's a really big thing. Is any dominatrix will know how to walk into a room and own it and fill that space with their energy. But other than that, I really don't think there's much. Like, I know doms from all walks of life, every shape, size, color, every background. Like, I think it just kind of all comes down to, can you walk into a room and own it? Great, you'll be a great dom. You'd be a great dom.
Honestly, before coming here, I said to my boyfriend, I said, in another life.
Yeah.
I was like, in another life. And he was like, yeah, fair play, yeah. So let's talk, how have you integrated your dominatrix experience into your parties and also the variety? Because I know we were talking about, you had a shibari course you were going to do. You've got like teaching people how to use paddles and, so you've got some teaching elements and play parties.
Yeah.
How are you now integrating that all?
I mean, in a personal way, I think my dom side comes out like every event, as poor Richard will tell you. Like, when he's like, I just want to, like, I need her to not be holding a whip. Like poor Richard probably gets the worst of it. But in terms of like the community, it was really, really important to me that we educate on all aspects. Domination and submission is one of my favorite subjects because I can be a bit more involved. But I wanted people to learn skills that A, can be dangerous if you don't learn them, and B, just where do you go to find an amazing world-class shibari instructor? You don't know. I do.
So for those who don't know what shibari is, what is shibari?
It is the Japanese technique of rope bondage. It was originally used as like a form of torture, I believe. Don't quote me on this. And over the years has kind of become a BDSM form of bondage, and it's an incredibly skilled practice. It's something that I find incredibly hard to do. I can do like very basic knots and like tie someone up in very basic ties. But like the person I look up to the most in this is a guy, amazing guy called Nick. I think he's like Nick, your two knots. I've had the absolute pleasure of working with him on countless occasions. We worked together at DV before. I've had him do his signature 3D human chandelier piece, which is the most amazing piece to behold. He has created a human 3D chandelier where you hang someone up upside down and attach these chandelier pieces, and in there goes live candles. So above whatever it is that you're hanging them above, you have a human with live candles as a human chandelier hanging above you, and that's entirely his creation. He's just like the most brilliant mind. And we've also worked together at Nude Noir, which is another event that I work with. And he just does like the most insane work with ropes that like you could never believe. So it can be a really, really beautiful art form when done correctly. It's just taking the very hard time and also maybe money to learn it.
And a lot of people have said with shibari, it's like very emotional. Like there's a big emotional release there. And...
Yeah, it can be really emotional. I actually prefer to be tied than to tie, because for me tying, I'm like, oh, it's so. But the actual physical feeling of the ropes tightening on the skin, or even just softly moving against the skin, is really meditative for me. And that release when you come down from whatever position or even just out of the ropes, and then you're held by somebody, so you go from this like tight bondage to human touch. It is like a really fantastic release. And also for me, I just really enjoy the marks that the ropes leave on the skin. For me, that's something that is incredibly erotic, when like after you're done and you just have like these gorgeous rope marks on your skin. So yeah, I'm way more of a tie than a tire.
I love this. So coming back to the variety of events that you do, and some are meant to teach, some are for play. Is that right?
We categorize them as lifestyle, education, and play. So like our play events are what they say on the tin. They are purely for your pleasure in whatever aspect that takes hold in. We will have performances. We might have DJs, although I tend to prefer not to. We will have, things for you to explore and play spaces. And it's all about you having your like adult hedonistic journey for the night. That's our play events. Our education events are, again, what they say on the tin. It's all about bringing you into a space and having you leave knowing more than you came with at the start. Our most popular one that we do most often is the Mandrake Salon, which is actually hosted by an amazing woman called Sophie Cohen, who runs House of Vixens, which is a beautiful erotic theatre company. And she works with the Mandrake Hotel and hosts workshops there. And when we kind of all connected, we thought like, this is a fantastic synergy of like, we have the people, you have the space, you have the amazing brain, like let's all connect and do this together. So now we're all doing the workshops together, and they've just been wonderful, because she does this amazing take that I've never seen anyone do, which is she kind of cuts the bullshit and she makes it real. So like for real couples who want to go home and maybe try something a little bit different, it's not like this really technical that I would do of like, and then in order to not cause bruising, you would then do this. And then this is how you robotically then do this. She creates it in a way that like is really going to come up. Like she's like, and then you roughly want to be standing about this distance, but whatever you have to hand, here are some examples that you might find around your bedroom for items that you could use for spanking. If it's just your hand, it's just so much more free flow for like the normal person that just wants to try out new things. And she's just fantastic at it. Plus, it's so sexy when she does it. It's so sexy. Like it's in the penthouse of the Mandrake Hotel. It's, I don't know if you've seen the penthouse of the Mandrake.
Is it the downstairs? I've gone to a gong bath in there.
No. So you know the penthouse.
Bit. Okay.
The penthouse is like it has a separate elevator. It's all white and marble. The bathroom has a bathtub that could fit 18 people in it. And that's not an exaggeration.
I feel like I've seen this somewhere.
Yeah, and it's got like white feathers and
love this.
It's just pure bliss. And she always hires an amazing model, but we have several models that she works with. And they just like don't get intimate, but in a lot of ways get intimate. And she shows you physically in a beautiful artistic way somehow, like this is how you can spank someone and make it fun and not make it like out of a porn movie and make it so that you're both enjoying this sensation. And it's just like heaven to watch and be part of.
And this is something I've seen on your website, in your branding, and that a lot of people speak about in this space as well, that it's not performative. Yeah. What does that actually mean? Because, you know, you think about these things and you think about someone coming for the first time, or are they not performing? Are they not putting on an outfit? Are they not? I mean, how is it not performative?
How is it not performative? I think it's not performative when you just let it fucking go. When you let it go and you don't care that your cum face looks like you are being dragged through a hedge backwards, you're not performing.
Yeah.
But I personally love the performing part of it.
Yeah.
I love it. God, I'm about to give away all my secrets. I love putting on a show. Like it used to be for me, if there wasn't a crowd forming, I hadn't done my job. Like it was about like get everybody in, and not that I'm an exhibitionist or anything. Like, really outing myself.
I'm a total exhibitionist. I'm like totally fine with that. You're in a safe space.
Like, as I'm saying it, I'm like, wow, I'm really
maybe I am. Yeah. I like the attention.
Oh no, I know I am. I just wasn't aware I was going to tell everybody.
But, secrets are out.
Fuck it. But like, so I was all about the performance, and like, you know, I used to glue shit to myself for TG and be wearing nothing else but like shit glued to me, and I loved like going and seeing all the outfits and the craziness, and it's performative because that's kind of part of what the fetish world was. It was like when the real world ends, the craziness begins, and the craziness can be as nuts as you want it to be. But, you know, nowadays people want like a real experience, which is like sometimes there's bodily fluids that aren't that fun. And sometimes you make weird noises, especially women. Sometimes air comes out of places that you didn't expect it to come from. And it like, that's the more like real experience, which I think in its own way is like really sexy. Especially at sex parties. I think if you're willing to go to a sex party and have real, unfiltered, non-performative experiences, that's sexy to me. But like, I'm also really down for the...
There's a space for everything.
I'm down for the glitz and glamour of sex as well. Like,
the
pure When Harry Met Sally performances. Love it.
And so is there a certain type of person that comes to your events?
No, not really. Like we don't really have, we have like a kind of rough age range, but I don't want to generalize because we do have people who are slightly older. We don't go younger than 21. We don't have anyone in the club that's under 21. But it's all age ranges. The ages tend to range usually from like 25 to 40. That's our average.
And how big is your community now?
We have over 6,000 active members.
Wow.
Yeah.
In the UK or?
No, that spans across. I don't actually know even which countries that spans across because every event we have someone come up to us and go, I came from somewhere completely nuts. And we go, okay, that's
and
not,
you've been
no
doing
pressure.
events in Ibiza and places like that as well, haven't you?
Yeah, we did our first retreat in Ibiza this year in May. We're returning next May as well. And we will be doing other retreats as well around the globe. So that's just kicking off. We're so excited for that bit. Yeah.
That's epic. So how have you grown the community? What's been your secrets to success there?
Oh, Richard. That's a one-word answer, Richard. I am, what's that phrase? Like black cat, golden retriever energy thing. I don't know if you can tell. I am not the golden retriever. I am little miss black cat. Like, don't trust you. Don't know who you are. Get away from me, strange person. He is so happy to see you. Doesn't matter who you are, where you are, what you're doing. He is just like, in his kink is meeting people and like getting to know you and who are you, where are you from, what makes you tick. And so when we were first starting out, we just like released him and like let him go and like meet people and get their vibes, and they got his vibe, and everyone just kind of connected. To this day, we walk into an event and hopefully most people won't know who I am, and that's fine by me. And it's like Cheers, where everybody knows your name for Richard. Like he's like, Richard! And he just flourishes in that. So I think a really big part of it has been having someone that is Richard to just kind of like welcome people in. But, as we've gotten bigger and it's not just down to one human being anymore, we've made a really big effort with our alumni, who are like, I guess you can kind of call them ambassadors. They are like a team that we've created from our members, who are trusted members, who have been to a lot of our events, who we find really friendly and knowledgeable and caring about this community. And they take over things for us, so that like when they go out for drinks before an event, they're there and they hold people's hands and welcome them in. And if anyone has any questions, they kind of answer them before they can get to us. So they've been fantastic. But also, I think just kind of circling back to him, he's going to love this. Circling back to him, like having such an open book, that Richard now has a phone that when you contact us on our website and it goes to a WhatsApp number, that's the only reason he has that phone. And it's on day or night. He will answer all your questions. He's just like such an open book with it, that I really truly believe to my core that that's kind of the reason we were able to develop things so quickly.
We had a connected community.
Yeah.
With real humans.
Yeah, with real humans that cared about the fact that he cared about that. I mean, I care about them too, but it's just less obvious. It's that feel cared for and care in return. Because if we were just like a bunch of stiffs who, were just about making profit and didn't actually give a shit, I think it would be felt by people and they would be less inclined to come. But like, I really, really care about your experience. And Richard really, really cares about you. And together we've kind of like made this event and made these events in this company that we hope make people feel seen and their experiences seen, and like they've got a hand to hold and someone to kind of guide them through this experience in whatever way that may take. So
in terms of like from a business perspective, like if we talked about scalability, how would you scale?
I mean, I'm not going to give away all our secrets.
Yeah.
But for us, going international has been the first step in how we're going to start scaling this. We could run an event now in London with our eyes closed. Like it's just kind of touch wood. Like I'm not going to hope that suddenly the sky starts falling and everything goes awry. But, we really want to take this international, and we don't even necessarily want to be running events in different markets internationally. We kind of want to take our market over to other countries and say, do the retreats where we take people from London over to other spaces. We would absolutely love to maybe essentially one day franchise, where we kind of give people the reins in other areas, other countries, and say, hey, this is how we run things. This is how we do things. You have to stick to X, Y, and Z, but take this to your community and we'll do, all the hard, heavy lifting and have fun and run with it and make it however you want to make it. So eventually we would love to do that. I just don't think we're quite there yet. We still want to get the retreats underway because I have enough grey hair as it is. Like I don't need any more. Like I'm okay.
And so what's some of the downsides of being like fully immersed now in this world and this being your full time thing?
I mean, like a really superficial one is it really ruins it. Like I can't go to play parties really anymore, because I just don't know how to enjoy them like I used to. Like I've been to a few like in recent years, and like you just like someone's knocked over a glass over there. Why is that monitor looking at that? Ooh, what's going on with this lighting? I bet it isn't looking very good. Wonder what's happening over there. Like you just can't stop.
Yeah.
And you're just constantly working. And it just completely ruins the fun for it. But that's what everybody says, isn't it? About like,
whatever you do.
Yeah, don't do what you love if you want
Yeah.
to continue loving it. And I still love it, but I love it in a whole new different way now. I love it
And
from
you
my
know the
side.
behind the scenes, like, you know, I've been in the nightlife festival events industry for 17 years. You put me in a venue and I'll be exactly the
Yeah, it's a
same. You know, the
nightmare.
behind the scenes, why are they doing that?
Yeah, I'm
You
like
just can't
watching the
help.
stage
Your
managers
mind
being
knows
like,
too
"What are you
much.
doing?
Yeah.
What's happening with that? What's going on there?" Yeah, it's like you peek behind the curtain and it does ruin it.
And so for you personally, were you able to be a dom, and are you able to do these things and have a monogamous relationship? Has that been your
Oh
choice?
yeah. I mean, uh I don't think I was in like ever a long-term monogamous relationship when I was like working,
Mm-hmm.
like as in the sex industry per se. I don't know if you'd still call what I do now as in the sex industry, but when I was like doming and camming and all that stuff, you absolutely can. There are people that are confident enough within themselves to say that's your job and that's fine, and deem that as a form of monogamous relationship. I chose not to because I liked the freedom. I liked being entirely selfish in what I did and like who I did and where I was and what hours I worked. And I just I enjoyed being entirely selfish. Towards the end of my career is when I got into a relationship, and it was also when I started DV. So that part of my life kind of tapered off as this new life was kind of arising. Like I met someone, I was starting this new company. I already knew I didn't want to do doming long term, and I already kind of had fallen out of love with it as a profession. And yeah, it just kind of naturally parted ways, and it was really lovely. I think you can work in the sex party industry and be totally monogamous, because if you're running events, it's of my opinion, you shouldn't be playing at them.
Yeah.
Just a hardcore rule of, I think people get taken advantage of. I think there's a weird power dynamic that happens that like Richard and I have both experienced when like we're at an event and there's people looking at you with goo goo eyes going, so you're the owner. And, not to shame anybody that's into power dynamics, that's great. But for me, it felt really weird as a woman being on the other end of it. It was really weird. If like that first time I was like, oh, you are into me because I'm the boss. And I'd never experienced that before. I'd been on the other side, but I'd never experienced it. And it felt really icky and weird. And I was like, oh, I can see how people would totally abuse this power. And I don't plan on being one of them, especially when it comes to vulnerable moments like sex. And I'm very lucky that I have a co-founder as understanding as Richard, who also agrees with that statement and is also in a loving long-term relationship and has no interest in playing at events. So we were pretty united on that front, where you absolutely can have a long-term relationship in this space, but for us as organizers, it should not be mixing.
Yeah. And I guess with that, it's reputation. There's so many dynamics in that, isn't there, of keeping it separate.
I look like how I kind of like the things that haunt me while I sleep. When I was saying about, I'm sure I did damage in the early years of my doming. I don't want to feel that way about this. I don't want to feel like I abused a power dynamic that I shouldn't have, when people are very vulnerable and nervous and naked and maybe even slightly intoxicated. And I don't want to feel like the sleazy guy that, again, that's not based at anyone, but I don't want to feel like how I assume men can feel of like, oh, great. I don't care if she wants me. She just wants me. So sod it. And it just felt weird and icky. And I would utterly urge anyone who's in this industry or not to take a real hard look at that power dynamic and whether it's worth it for you.
Yeah. So if there's one thing that you want our listeners to take away about this industry, about play parties, about exploration, what would it be?
It would be that it's not that scary. Like, it would be that, like, if I could kind of bottle up a feeling and hand it to anybody, it would be that feeling I had when I first walked into my first ever torture garden, of that, like, a weight being lifted and feeling like, oh my God, I found them. Like the other people that were called sluts at school and, shamed for things and didn't feel understood purely because of something sexual or a fantasy or whatever, if I could bottle that up and hand it out to people, I would. And I hope that people, whether it's because they come to DV or they watch a particular porn that they're nervous about, or they just interact with a fantasy that they've had, explore that, own it, take ownership of, take ownership of your of your life, like Dominium Vita. But, you know, really try it, because no one's gonna do it for you. Like, the freaks are out there, the weirdos are out there. You can be one of them, or you can have a look at them and acknowledge their existence. But just like take that courage to try it, because it's such a wonderful feeling of feeling like you belong somewhere when you maybe haven't ever felt that way about this.
I love this. Thank you so much. And how can people connect with your events, maybe have a look at the memberships and sign up?
You can apply direct for membership through our website. It's dominiumvita.com. We have an Instagram that, as I've already mentioned, Richard will be on there, hands on deck. So at any point you can slide into the DMs, and if you have any questions at all, he's always available to answer them. Once you apply for membership, we will send you an email if you've been accepted. If you haven't heard from us, unfortunately, that's not the best sign. We're always welcome to try again. And once you're accepted, we'll send over all the information, and you can take a look through our events and book anything we have coming up. But yeah.
Thanks so much, Emma.
You're
You've
so
been an
welcome.
amazing guest. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.